What's up, guys? This is Corey with DBS Decks, and today we are starting a new series. So this is going to be the working title, but basically what we're doing is a community deck or deck doctor. And so kind of the whole concept of this is that I will be using the deck database off the DBS Decks website. Just go find some interesting lists that a list that I find interesting, something that's probably a little bit off kilter, not super meta, a little bit weirder, maybe a different leader, or different type of archetype, or just something that I find that I think is really cool. And we're gonna take it, I'm gonna evaluate it, go over the list, and then I will go put it in the deck editor, and then I will kind of revise it to something that I think is a little bit more suitable to what the deck's trying to do. The key thing about this is that I'm going to be trying my best to maintain the spirit of what the deck's trying to do. So basically, I'm not going to just like take, oh, here's a leader with an archetype, and I'm going to switch leader and come build a brand new meta deck or anything like that. We're going to try our best to keep that in the spirit of whatever the deck's trying to do. So like I said, we're going to be going through the deck database to find these lists, but if you've got a list that you feel like should be put into consideration, please feel free to put it down in the comments below. We'll kind of go that way. If you do feel like doing that, please, if you could, put in the notes kind of what you're trying to do with the deck on the deck builder. That way, whenever I'm going and looking through these lists, I have an idea of what you're trying to do instead of trying to come up with what the deck strategy is on my own. Moving forward, our first list that we're going to be deck doctoring is, this is from KingGOOMBAx806x, and this is a Veku Maidens list. So already pretty interesting, running the Maiden engine, which we've not really seen for quite a while. There's been a little bit of offshoots with like the Broly and the Shenrons and things like that. But this is running Veku engine, so you can kind of ramp up and try to do all this in one turn if possible. It's also trying to finish off with SCR Broly, which is kind of neat. So, already kind of getting into the list, it's running a 3-3-3 line of the Goku, Vegeta, and the Veku. So this is what's searchable off the leader, and then for 3 energy you can fuse into the Veku. Veku's a barrier blocker, and then whenever he is KO'd, you can take a Goku, Vegeta from your drop area, put it back in your hand, then take the top 2 cards of your deck, and then put them in your energy. This is a nice way to ramp. You can go from 3 energy on turn 3 to 6 energy on your turn if this is KO'd, which is a nice way to kind of really go up this Maiden chain. Then moving on in the list, we've got 3 Paragus to sacrifice, so it is a 1-drop on a green 5k, activate main once per turn, choose 1 green card from your battle area other than this card, place it in your drop area, draw a card. So this is how we kind of get up into the Broly SCR, which we'll get into a little bit. Next up, we've got Zarbuto, Maiden Attendant. It's a 1-drop, 1 green 5k. Auto, whenever you play this card, look up 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 Universe 2 among them, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So all the Maiden squad is Universe 2. This is all from the World Martial Arts Tournament, or no, excuse me, this is the Tournament of Power. So it can find, it's got several targets in the deck to find. Next up, we've got Girl Warrior, Brienne de Chateau. I'm going to go ahead and say this, I'm going to probably butcher several of these names. But this is a 2-drop 1 green, a barrier. Auto, whenever you play this card, look at the 7 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 Maiden Squadron among them, then add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So that finds the Girl Warrior, this finds the Maiden Squadron Kakuna, Maiden Squadron Rosie, Maiden Squadron Lady Rubrian, and then Rubion Transformation complete. So it's got several targets there. Next up, we've got 3 Rabana, Maiden Attendant. So it's a 2-drop 2 green 5k blocker, and it's a if Universe 2 is in your play in your battle area, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. So it's just a free blocker, which is nice. Next up, we've got 4 Maiden Squadron Kakunsa. So it is a 4-drop 20k critical permanent. If Ribrianne and Rosie are in play in your battle area, this card gains dual attack. So it's a nice 20k dual attack crit, which is pretty nice. Next up, we've got 4 Maiden Squadron Rosie. It's a 4-drop 2 green 20k blocker. Auto, at the end of your turn, if Ribrianne and Kakunsa are in play in your battle area, switch this card to active mode. Alright, next up we've got 4 Maiden Squadron Leader Ribrianne. A lot going on there. It's a 5-drop 2 green. It evolves for 2 green and one other off of a Girl Warrior Brienne de Chateau. It is an auto whenever the card evolves in this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. And then auto whenever this card attacks, if Kakunsa and Rosie are in play in your battle area, choose up to 2 cards from your opponent's hand and place them in the drop area. So, it's really nice, like hand removal. It also doesn't have to attack the leader card in order to pitch the cards. You just need the rest of the girl squad out in order to get that pitch, which isn't too terrible. We've got a card that kind of cheats those into play. It's just a couple turns setup for that, though. And then next up, we've got 3 Ribrianne Transformation Complete, 7-drop, 4 green. 30k EX Evolve for 1 green off of a Ribrianne with an energy cost of 5 or more, so it's our Maiden Squadron leader. The auto, whenever you play this card with Evolve, by placing a top on a Maiden Squadron leader Ribrianne, switch it to active mode. And then it is a auto whenever this card attacks, choose up 2 cards in your opponent's hand and place them in their drop area. So this one doesn't have the restriction of needing the rest of the girl squad out in order to get the pitch, but kind of the strategy is that you get up into the Maiden Squadron leader Ribrianne for 3, you swing with the girls in play, you pitch 2 cards, you go 1, evolve, and then she swings again, and now she pitched 2 more cards, so you're pitching 4 cards for 4 energy effectively is what it's trying to do. And then moving on from there, we have the SCR, the Broly Ultimate Agent of Destruction. So it is whenever one of our battle cards with energy cost of 7 or more is placed in the drop area or KO'd, you can play this card from your hand for free, and then you have to discard all the other cards in your hand, and then if your life is at 1 or less, or if your life is at 1, whenever it attacks, your opponent discards all the cards from the hand, and it's a 40k double striker dual attack. So pretty nice kind of way to close out the game that way. Moving on into the super combos, he is running a split of the 2 Great Saiyaman Town Hero, which is the Sparking, and then 2 of the North Kai Keeping Watch, which is the 4 or less. Moving on into the extra cards, we're running 3 full power energy, so it's just a 1 cost green negate. Negate the attack, then choose up one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 1 or less and KO that card. And then finally, 4 Maiden Transformation. So it's a 4-drop extra card, 2 green. Choose up the 2 Maiden Squadron at energy cost of 4 or less in your drop area and play them. So this is really how you kind of like move up the chain. You play this, you go get the Kakunsa and the Rosie out of the drop, you put them in the play, and then you're kind of already set up to go into the Ribrianne and everything the next turn. That's kind of where the problem with the deck lies, is that by going up the full chain, you're ideally going like turn 3, Veku, let the Veku die, you ramp up to 5, charge on 6, and then you go like 4, you play the Maiden Transformation, put the girls in play, then you pass, and then on the next turn, assuming they live, you can evolve off the 2-drop Ribrianne, go up to Ribrianne, now you've got all the girls in play, she swings, they pitch 2 cards, you pay 1, you evolve into the 7-drop, it untaps, you swing, you pitch 2 more cards, kind of get the idea of the strategy. It's an interesting way to go about it, running the Veku engine. I probably would have preferred to go to something like Shinron, just because you can assemble a squad into the 2-drop and kind of go up that way. You've got an easier way to get the cards in the drop with like Super Dragon Ball and all that kind of stuff, but this is what we got. So we are going to take this over into the deck builder, and we're going to edit it. So right off the bat, I'm going to pull off the free blocker. I feel like right now our issue with the deck is that we don't have any Self-Awakening cards, which I feel like are kind of important, just because if not, we'll kind of get stalled out at 8. We're going to drop down to 2 Paragus to Sacrifice, because while that is a finishing strategy, it's not really kind of the core of the deck. So that leaves us with 6 cards. I'm going to go ahead and flip-flop the super combos, and we're going to go straight into the 4 of the North Kai Keeping Watch. I just feel like it's more consistent having those. I mean, there's not really a problem having a 2-2 split, I just like having all of the same. Gives you options in the side to run like Overrealm and different things like that. Looking at the rest of this, that leaves us with 6 cards. I'm going to drop Maiden Transformation to 3. I feel like 3 is probably fine. And then I'm also going to drop the Ribrianne. Where are we? Maiden Squadron Leader Ribrianne down to 3 because it is searchable. So that leaves us with 6 cards. I think that's fine for now. So we're looking into Self-Awakening options. You've got a couple different options. Obviously, kind of the go-to for most people is the Newfound Power Son Gohan, which is definitely not a bad option. My problem with that is that Crisis Crusher is kind of everywhere in the format, and so that kind of restricts us. If that's in play, then you can't swing with this to take the life, so we're just kind of stuck. You've got the Supreme Kind of Time Disruptor, and whenever that comes into play, cards with energy cost of 2 or less can't attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. So that's annoying for us. So these kind of cards that are reliant on us to take a lot to swing in order to take a life are somewhat of a negative for us. Obviously, in an ideal situation, these would be the perfect kind of just go-to, but because of those stipulations, we're going to stay away from that right now. So because of that, we are going to go into the Infernal Emperor Frieza. So it's a 1-drop, 1 green, 10k, auto whenever you play this card, choose the 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. I think that's kind of where we want to be in terms of these self-awakening. Just like I said, it's just a play it, take a life. We're going to jam 4 of those here on the list. I feel like that's pretty important for us, just because we want to make sure we see those. And it's not searchable for us, so we need to see that as often as possible. Next up, we've got a couple different ways we can go about it. So we could look at adding an additional negate, or maybe swapping out the negate. We could ideally look at adding more of the Goku and Veku line, or Goku, Vegeta, and Veku line. That's probably a good way to go. 3-3-3 isn't terrible. It might be better to have like a 4-4-3 on the Veku, and so because you need the Gokus and the Vegetas in order to do the fusion. That might be a way to go, or go into 4 Veku because that's more important to us. So we have some options there. I think we're going to go 4-4 on the Goku and Vegeta. We'll keep the Veku. I'm at 3. I think it's probably fine. Try to see if there's any other like major changes that I feel like are super important to us. So when I was first kind of looking at this, I felt bad about full power energy. I didn't feel like it. I mean, well, it's just the basic green negate. It doesn't do a lot for us. We have options. We could potentially run Dimension Magic because it is sparking. We don't ever actually need to pay for it. But the more blue cards that we introduce in the list, the worse it gets, because again, like we talked about, the Veku is a random flip off the top 2 of the deck, and depending on what that flips, that's our energy. So we don't ever want to flip a Dimension Magic off of that. We do have the ability that if we, charge a Veku later, or if we flip a Veku off the Veku, now we have blue energy, so we can actually get the untap effect off the Dimension Magic, so that's something to consider. We're also running the 4 super combos that are blue, so if we flip one of those off, now we've got more targets to evolve or to flip off the Dimension Magic. But then again, we're introducing more blue into the deck, which I don't think we want to be. The full power energy is okay. Another option that we have that I first considered, which I thought was a little bit interesting, was the Times Judgment Super Negate from, it is our black negate. Where are we at? So, Times Judgment is a 1 negate to counterattack, negate the attack, and then you may place 2 cards from your hand in the drop area. If you do, add this card to your hand. So this is kind of a negate that recurs itself back to hand, which is kind of cool. It's able to let us pitch out the Maiden Squadron back into the drop area, so we can go into the Maiden Transformation and kind of bring those out. So that's kind of a way to go. Comboing those is probably just better, but this allows us to continually cycle through negates, which is something to consider as well. We don't ever have to do the pitch effect. We can just play it as just a normal 1-drop negate. So that's an option, but again, we're getting into that adding additional colors into the deck, which is something we're not necessarily wanting to be about. So I think we may just stick with the full power energy for now. It's probably an 08k to go. He's got a couple cards in his sideboard, Double Impact Krillin and Through the Dark Banisher. Obviously Double Impact Krillin's good because if they're running Mercenary Tau, as a way to get rid of it, so our discard stuff still works. Kind of the restrictions with this type of deck is that because of the Maiden Squadron, you have to run so many of those engine cards. You've got to run 4 of the Girl Warrior, you've got to run multiples of the Girl Squadrons and things like that, so you make sure they're in the drop and everything like that. You got to see them more often. We do have Search, which is nice. On that end, I think we're going to drop one of the Zarbuto. That way we can go up into a full play set of the full power energy, leave us at 4 there. I think that's really all the changes we can safely make. So we're gonna go ahead and submit this. We'll pull up the visual view so everyone can see. So here's kind of the changes we made to the deck. So we increased the Goku and Vegeta line, so now we have 4 of those. We're keeping the 3 Veku, which I'm not super fond of, but that's kind of where we have to be. We added 4 of the Infernal Emperor Frieza, so we can start taking life. We dropped down the Paragus of Sacrifice, the Zarbuto, the Leader Ribrian, and the Maiden Transformation, all those down to 1, so we can make this, so we can have room for the 1-drop. And add room for the Goku Vegeta. We also added an additional full power energy. So not like a whole lot of core changes that we made to the deck. We got rid of the free blocker. That's probably a good sideboard addition if we need blockers, but I felt like we needed to make those kind of cuts in order to get these awakening cards, which I feel like are more important. We need to get to our leader flipped aside so we can untap energy, we can do all kinds of cool stuff that way. But anyway guys, that is it. That is our first deck doctor. So let us know what you think down below. Like I said, if you are interested in getting a deck up for submission, put it down in the comments. No guarantees that I will get to those and I will make those in the deck doctor, but it's a good way for me to just like find an easy list in that way. But anyway guys, that is it, and we will see y'all next time.